Okay people, 48 hours of the propionate soak are through, so it's time to take the blanks out of the soak. First take this one away, and I must admit that now I'm not that certain anymore whether the lure would still be sufficiently buoyant. Well, I shall see. If not, I must do another one for the secret center. But I shall see. So I'll hang this to dry for one day now. It feels quite heavy now anyway, because it has been soaked up with propionate. You can really feel it in your hand that the wood turned significantly heavier now. But the propionate, or better said, the acetone inside of the propionate will evaporate pretty fast. I mean, you can really feel it in your hand that the wooden parts have turned significantly heavier. So I'll leave them now for at least 24 hours for the propionate to evaporate, because if I don't do it by the next dips, I would only get air bubbles if the propionate has not evaporated entirely. This propionate works in a way. I've showed you in part 3 that they are plastic pellets dissolved in acetone, and it works in a way that the dissolved plastic closes the cells and pores inside of the wood, so the acetone evaporates, leaving the plastic inside the wood, and it would harden there. And now I said 10 to 12 coats are going to be dipped on after this 24 hours drying time now. Alright, I will continue this video when it's time for the dipping. Alright, see ya. Okay people, 24 hours have passed. Now the acetone from the propionate is entirely evaporated, leaving the plastic inside of the wood cells and pores. What you would do now is just give it a little buff with fine sandpaper. It's not that important with this kind of beech wood, but if you would have used abachi wood instead, or other timber that has more pores, the wood grain would have been raised, and so this way you just sand it smooth again. It's not really necessary on this kind of timber, but if you have other timbers that you have dipped, soaked in the propionate, you would just sand the wood grain smooth again, that's all. Okay, now I will I've prepared some hooks here to hang them into the drying rack after the dip. And now I'm going to dip these 2 lure parts for about 1 dozen times. Okay, this should hold up. Into a thicker propionate mix to get a hard sealer coat onto it. So here's the thicker propionate mix, and I just dip it, let it rest for some time for the first coat that the acetone dissolves the previous soaking coat there, and now extract it slowly. Okay, and I'm saving all the drops because this propionate stuff is very precious to me. If you have dipped a few coats onto the lure, not so much dripping would occur anymore because it tends to adhere better. What I would also do after 2 or 3 initial dips is to buff it again, and after maybe 6 dippings or so I would flip it over, meaning to attach the wire hook on the other side, because it's logical down here now a thicker coat would evolve than on the upper side, so I'll switch it around later to have the coat thickness equal. Alright, now the front section, leave it for some time again, and it's really a significant amount of the sealer going onto the lure blank, because you could really see the level inside of the jar going down after some dips. I did not mask the slots or holes. They would get clogged up later with propionate, but I will also show how I clean them again. I would just saw and drill them open again. I feel better doing it so rather than masking. Actually, I've never tried to mask this, especially the slot. I could put a piece of metal inside. This stuff doesn't adhere to metal. Well, this way I get sealer to the inside of the holes and the slots as well, and I just have a better feeling with it. Probably the mixture is a little bit too thick, so I might thin it a little bit. Okay, with my acetone. So you could thin the propionate to any consistency you need it. Now give it a little shake, hold the lid onto it because it's not always real tight, not to have the stuff spill out. Okay, now the bubbles will die away slowly, and ready for another dip. Any dripping, I remove the drippings again, and some more here. You do not have to wait all the time until the coat has dried entirely. You could do it wet and wet. So maybe every 15 or 20 minutes you could do the next dipping. Only if you want to touch the blanks with your hands and to flip over the hooks, then they have to dry thoroughly for 24 hours. But in between the dippings you only need 20 minutes distance. Not more than that. It's not necessary. Okay. Okay, about 10 to 15 minutes have passed now. You can see that the first coat is already dry. Only at the bottom where the drips go down is still wet. I wouldn't touch it there. So now I'm dipping the second time. So with each dipping, the thickness of the propionate coat increases on the lure. But I would now dip 3 times and then leave it to dry for 24 hours to give it a sand over again in case small bubbles would occur, and after no more buffing would be necessary. So this is compared to my old linseed oil sealing method, this is very fast and better and less work intensive. Okay, hang it to dry. Now the head portion. Extract it slowly. And in the end, all the little blemishes in the end grain of the wood would have been vanished. The sealer coat comes quite thick and would have covered it all. I'm just saving all the drops because this propionate is quite precious to me. I don't want to waste it. Okay, let's check. More drops occurred on this part. I'm wiping them off. So that was the second dipping. I wouldn't put all the dippings on tape, but as a summary, after the first 3 dippings, I would sand it over to get rid of little air bubbles. After 6 or 7 dippings, I would flip over the parts, attach the hook from the other side, and then dip the rest. Altogether about 12 coats, 12 dippings. That's how I do all of my lures with the propionate sealer, and I'm pretty much satisfied with it. Okay. Hi folks, back again working on the Whirligig. The sealing has now been done. The sealer coats are hardened. So now it's in order to pull out the wire hangers and to free all drill holes and slots from clogged up propionate. Alright, so gotta pull this thing out. Okay, so far so good. Now we would remove the clogged up propionate inside of the fin slots. To be careful to get the start. Usually the saw blade would find its way. Of course you gotta be careful not to cut in your fingers. I haven't attempted to mask these slots because I like the sealer to flow inside of them as well, so the lure would not only be sealed from the outside but from the inside too. Okay, this should be it. Now the second one. Okay. Some sandpaper. As I said before, the reason for not masking them is that I want to have the sealer flow inside of the slots as well. Actually, I've never tried to mask it. Propionate doesn't adhere to metal, so I could have placed metal sheet inside before dipping, but I never bothered to do this. Okay. Yeah. They fit. One seems to be higher than the other. Maybe switch this around. Yeah, better this way. Okay. Of course you would do the same to the drill holes. Yeah. Tubing fits through. You see now that it was so important to leave the center tubing a little bit longer, protruding over either side, because due to all the coats dipped on, the diameter and the length of the body became a little bit longer now. After having drilled out all the clogged up propionate, I would buff the surface with sandpaper so that the top coat would adhere well. Yep, now let's pull this thing out again. Fits, so the head portion is done. Alright. Okay, now let's get to the main body. So this is for the pop rivet to fit in. Not deep enough yet. Okay. Now the belly hook. Still too tight. I'm just using the drill bit as a router now. Okay, fits. Snugly, but fits. Okay. Alright. And now the center bore. Again, very careful. Because it's so small in diameter, it hasn't been clogged up that much anyway. And it fits. So, how about the dry fit of the belly hook hanger? Push it around. Need pliers. Make sure before gluing it in, you make a dry fit. Okay. Does this thing? Yeah, it fits. I gotta push it more to the inside. Yeah. Everything's fine. Now let's try the top rivet again. Put this thing in, align the eyes. Alright, this is our dry fit now. Now it's time to buff the lure blanks from the outside for better paint adhesion. Okay, you see now all the little blemishes are gone, covered by propionate, so I get a fairly smooth surface. I'm just roughing it up a bit. The surface is also fairly plain. We use to make a little cam again here. Could cut the reminders away so that epoxy glue will flow better into it, just for added stability. Same thing here, to get a little cam. The more epoxy, the better. That's my philosophy for the durability of the lure. Okay. Now the head portion. Again, cut the little cam. By the way, this Stanley knife is very blunt, it would not cut my fingers that easily, and also won't cut through the propionate coat that easily at unwanted locations. Okay. So that's the way I do all of my timber lures. Just some roughening up for better paint adhesion. Alright. Okay, once again, now gluing in the hardware is in order. Before starting to mix your epoxy glue, make sure you fit everything together in a dry fit. Not that you will face bad surprises once your glue is wet and you only have a few minutes of processing time. Probably also mark the eye, which end should be pointing forward, and the rear eye, which point should be pointing upward, in case it fits better in one position than the other. And that's about it now, so let's mix the glue. So I'm going to film the entire process now, because I can't afford to operate the camera when handling this glue, because it's a 5-minute epoxy glue and has a very short processing time. I've been using this glue for many years for my lure making, and it's not the most cheapest stuff, but I'm very comfortable with it. Okay, now fill in the glue here, and I would suck it in with my mouth. You won't have to be scared to get glue in your mouth, because the hole is too tight. Okay, now some from this side as well. Maybe here again, some more. Okay, now fit this thing in, put some more glue on its shaft, and insert. Pliers help great deal. Okay. I'll put this thing aside, and now apply glue to the shaft, especially here at the closure wrappings, because this is the part of it where it would find the most grip. Maybe apply some to the other shaft as well. To the forward shaft. Okay, now let's insert it. Check back, this thing sits firm. big portion of glue has to go here. Should have mixed a little more. That's going to be okay. Okay. It's a little bit messy, but I'm used to it actually. And don't forget to align the eye to the belly eye. Okay. Smear some glue to the front shaft. Put the pop rivet over. Again, some more glue to the pop rivet. And push it down into position. Take away the remaining glue. And check the position before the glue starts to set. Starting to set already. So I like to smear some more glue here to fill up the hole entirely. After I would have cured, I'll remove it so everything is flush without any significant transitions to the lure body. So the problem is the glue always flows downward. If you can't make it this way, if you have gaps left over, you need to make a second mix of glue after this one first one would have set. So I just want to skip this extra work. Yeah, the front looks okay. Now all my fingers are tacky, but as I said before, I'm used to it. I've been working with this glue for many years. And I never got any skin disease of it as well. Probably one that is cautious about it should wear gloves, surgeon's gloves or something like that. Yeah. Little alignment. Yeah, like this is okay. So one good thing is that from the propionate coat is easy to remove the glue because it's a rather plain surface. I mean, the glue adheres to the propionate quite well, but in the end it's quite easy to scrape or cut off or scrape off the glue reminders. Yeah, this looks good. Okay, I would just fondle it in my hand a little bit, but the glue is starting to set now. It won't flow anymore. And well, now I've got the problem to switch the camera off with my sticky fingers. Alright, I'll try. Okay, now gluing in the hardware into the head portion. As I said before, this process must come pretty quick, because this glue doesn't have a very long processing time. It's 5 minutes epoxy. Alright. again. I would sock some in the hole. Okay, this is getting hazardous now. Alright, use a piece of wire to, yeah, a good portion of glue is already inside. Alright, put it aside. Now take the tubing, smear glue onto it, and insert it. Some more glue. Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law, okay. The rest I'll put here. So make sure to let the tube protrude a little bit here because of the epoxy coat. Push it in just a little more. That's been too much. Okay. Now let's proceed filling glue inside of the slots. I'm afraid I did not mix enough glue, but it should just be okay. Alright, put it aside. Now apply the rest of the glue to the wings. Right, and insert it. Okay, need to save some of the glue here because I didn't mix enough. Put it aside. And should be just enough. No waste. And insert again. Something's wrong. Okay. Now it's in the right position. And the glue is now still fluid enough. I would just wipe it off the corners of the wings, because it's difficult to remove it there once it's hardened. From the other surfaces I can remove it easier. Just wipe it away. Yeah, one more time. Okay. Yeah. This looks good. Yeah. I said before, when the lure has cured, I could file off reminders. If they are thicker layers, I will use a Dreamer router bit to just a little more. Okay, that's there to disguise the slot. Naturally, glue will flow inside of the tubing, but I will drill it out later again. Yeah. There's a piece I could remove that one. Okay. Yeah, glue starts to set now. I hope always in focus of the camera, because I tend to move the action forward to my body. But this camera is having a wider focus, so it should still capture it. Alright. Glue has started to set to an extent that corrections would hardly be possible now. Okay. Set this aside. Like this. Oops. Okay. No, doesn't work. It's fine like this. Okay, the procedure goes now, I will let it cure for 24 hours and then start to remove the glue reminders to have it flush to the body outline. This glue reaches its maximum strength after 72 hours, 3 days, but after 24 hours is hard enough that you could be working on it by routing or filing. Okay, but one more thing I have to tell you. By dipping this thing in propionate, I figured out that maybe I've estimated wrong about the buoyancy of the wood. So probably this whirligig would not be functional. I expect it to probably even sink. In this case, I would keep the whirligig for myself and not send it to the secret center I've mentioned in part 1. But by now, I have already started out with some more whirligigs. This is one, and here are two. One slender one, one fatter one, both 4 inches long, 10 centimeters, and these are made of abachi wood and they will work for sure. Otherwise, I've made a very tiny one out of PVC hard foam. This one, because it's of an artificial plastic material, didn't require no sealing, so I've started to put on the primer coat. First painting. I've jammed this one together the day before yesterday and yesterday, and I've already put this thing in the water, so it does float up very well. Now I'm even anxious that maybe it would not dive, but paint and top coats would still add some weight to it, so I'm still in fairly good hope that it would be functional. This one would go to a fellow YouTuber. He requested a 2-inch model, so it's the first one I made, and it turned out quite well. Okay, this is the end of part 4 now, I think. I'll be back. See ya.